So Ethereum is pumping. It's finally broken above that elusive $4,000 level and is making a push towards all-time highs. But in today's video, I don't want to focus on Ethereum. I want to focus on how you can extract the most amount of money from this Ethereum pump. Because as Ethereum goes higher, it's the tide that lifts the ships in the Ethereum ecosystem. The wealth effect on the Ethereum blockchain is very real. As Ethereum whales feel richer, their propensity to move up the risk curve on the Ethereum chain increases. And in today's video, I'm going to be focusing on the best plays on the Ethereum chain for you to capitalize. Look, it's not a full-blown alt season yet, but what it does look like is an Ethereum season. So for the next 1 to 2 quarters, I want to help you position in today's video by breaking down all of the top ETH betas and DeFi plays for you to build out your Ethereum-based portfolio. Now, the way I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to break down many of the major ETH betas in the market, and then I'm going to rank them on an altcoin tier list in terms of my conviction. Just to go through the criteria of the rankings for today's video so you're not confused, the rankings will be based on my personal conviction. So I'm going to give you a variety of options in today's video, and I'll give you my top picks that I am including in my Ethereum and ETH beta portfolio. The criteria for whether I rank it in A tier, B tier, C tier is based on pumpamentals. So it's, in my opinion, non-financial advice, just my opinion, of course, whether I think that coin has pumpamentals or not, aka if it can pump. And I also want to consider whether it's a compelling investment. So I'm not necessarily considering its stature in the space when I rank these coins. It's not a list ranked in terms of quality because obviously there are coins like AAVE, Lido, which, spoiler alert, don't make the A or S tiers, or at least not the S tier of today's video, but are obviously, very fundamental established plays in the market. So this list is more based on what I find compelling to hold in my portfolio for Q3 and Q4, taking us into the end of the year. So I think this is going to be a very alpha-packed video. I have a ton of altcoins to go through today, over a dozen altcoins, and we're going to break down what are the top ETH betas for you to capitalize on this Ethereum run. Now, the first thing I want to say is that obviously holding Ethereum is the best way to capitalize on an Ethereum run. ETH betas are exactly that. They are a higher beta play on Ethereum, so they're riskier. If ETH does have a pullback and drops, these betas are going to drop further. But if Ethereum keeps pumping and does go to 5, 6, 7K, as I discussed in yesterday's video, then the betas will likely outperform. But they don't always outperform. They're not guaranteed to outperform. There is a strong chance that Ethereum maintains overall strength in the market, so you have to keep that in mind when constructing a portfolio. Obviously, with betas, you have the potential to make a lot more. Some of these could 5 to 10x in value, whereas Ethereum probably won't 10x in value. But if you are moving up the risk curve, you're also taking on more risks. So keep in mind that these plays aren't as safe as Ethereum. Also, this list is in no particular order. I'll be going through the list, but as we go, I'll be ranking the coins on my tier list. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I'm going to begin with the ETH betas, and then I'm going to go into DeFi. So ETH betas are coins that are historically linked with ETH. On the correlation coefficient, they have a higher correlation with ETH. And then we're going to get into DeFi, because in my opinion, after ETH betas, we have to be looking at the top coins in the Ethereum ecosystem overall, DeFi clearly being one of the narratives which is benefiting the most from the regulatory tailwinds that we currently have from the Trump administration, pushing stablecoins through the Genius Act, pushing asset tokenization, pushing Ethereum and World Liberty Finance, pushing stablecoin growth, and obviously supporting the DeFi ecosystem as a whole. So let's get into the ETH betas. I'm going to try and go quickly through each altcoin. And you're actually going to get my TA for each altcoin as well. So we're going to talk about the fundamentals, where I rank them, and what I see on the charts. Let's get straight in. Oh, by the way, before we get into the video, make sure you subscribe. I'm dropping absolute alpha every single day. I'm putting a lot of effort and time into these videos, but I want to make sure you smash it this cycle. So make sure you click that subscribe button and come and join the family, and click the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. We're only uploading bangers on the channel at the moment. All right, Lido. Lido is one of the top liquid staking plays on Ethereum. I mean, if you look at the TVL growth, it's absolutely massive. It's survived the UST event, the FTX event, and has continued coming out ahead. It's now almost at 40 billion in terms of TVL. From a technical perspective, there's also an interesting setup on Lido. As clearly one of the top ETH betas in the market, it's now starting to reclaim a pretty key level. Now, in terms of buying right this second, it's kind of in no man's land, because what I would prefer to see is a pump and then a retest of this breakout, or if it was to come down now, a tuck into this pocket and look at a deviation reclaim play. So for a technical trigger on the low time frames, that's what I would look at. On the high time frame, though, it looks good. I'm just going to give some of my TA opinions on the coin to add some balance to today's video alongside the fundamentals. Now, in terms of where I would rank Lido on the overall tier list, I would probably put it in either A or the B category. I'm going to do a rebalancing at the end of the video, but for now I'm probably going to put it in B. I think it's a solid coin. I think you can capture exposure to the upside of Ethereum, but I think there are better plays in the market in terms of the criteria that I'm talking about. Pumpamentals, clearly it can do well. It can match ETH, if not beat it, in a good market, but I want to save some room up the top for coins that I think can potentially outperform and do even better than Lido. All right, moving on to the next ETH beta play, and this is going to be ENA. I am going to probably go ahead and already drop ENA in the S tier because it's a token that's, near and dear to my heart, being one of the most risky trades that I've taken all year and one that paid off a lot. So as you can see here in the Discord, I posted on the 18th of July a big portfolio update that I was switching my pump fund for the ETH betas, so ENA, ETHFI, and EIGEN. As you can see, at the time, ENA was 40 cents. Now looking at the ENA chart, it's 80 cents. So I did take profits into resistance, but I kept half of my position, and yeah, maybe I have a bit of an attachment to this coin because it's been one of my best trades this year in terms of opportunity cost. However, I still think it has upside. You just have to be careful in terms of how you enter. So try and look for pullbacks on the coin. Obviously, it's approaching all-time highs. It's a tricky one to trade, so you've got to move down into the lower time frames and see where it consolidates and look for pullbacks. So that is how I would play ENA. There are other coins in today's video that haven't pumped this much and actually look like they're due for a pump, but ENA is a little bit different because it's been a leader. However, the reason it's in S tier is because it's been such a strong leader, and from a fundamental perspective, it has been extremely strong. We can see their USDE, so their stablecoin supply, has exceeded $10 billion for the first time ever, setting a new all-time high. Koreans are actually labeling ENA, if you actually look at the translation of a lot of Korean posts, as the new Luna. They're calling it the rugless Luna, or the sustainable Luna, or the unbreakable Luna. So it's starting to gain some ascendancy in the Korean sphere, which is a positive for price action. But it has run up a lot, so you do have to be wary of that when you are considering ENA. But yeah, I do put it in S tier because it's been a great trade, and I think it will continue to give good trading opportunities on pullbacks. Paradise as well, who's one of our analysts in the Discord, hit an amazing, this is an update just from this morning at 6:50 a.m., 527% trade on ENA. So we both hit amazing trades in the group. By the way, if you do want to come and join the Discord, I'm doing a very special promotion at the moment, but not for long, and it's a 10-day money back guarantee. So basically, if you want to join the group, check it out, try it out. If you don't like it within 10 days, you can get your money back. Just open a support ticket and we'll give you a refund if you use the link in the description below. But I don't think you're going to need a refund because honestly, I think we've built the highest alpha group in crypto. So many amazing analysts are in there. Morin, one of our buddying traders, he recently got a promotion to being one of our lead analysts, hit one of the best trades of the cycle. As you can see here, he hit a massive Bitcoin swing trade from this dip here at 112K all the way up to 121K, and he was posting the entire journey of that trade in his channel throughout the entire lifespan of the trade. So as a swing trader, he'll only take like one good setup every month or one good setup every 2 months. He doesn't open many trades, but when he does, he goes in with high conviction. And that is a little bit different to our other traders like Paradise, who are scalping and always looking for low time frame opportunities, and Surf XBT, who's another one of our low time frame scalpers. Paradise actually hit 436% on pump today as well. So I think the group is amazing because we have low time frame scalpers like Paradise and Surf, and then we have high time frame swing traders like Doc and Morin. And then we also have fundamental analysts like me and Fabian. So we've pretty much got everything to help you succeed this cycle. Link in the description, 10-day money back guarantee. Come and be a part of the community. So that wraps up ENA. Going on to the next one, this is going to be Arbitrum. Now, Arbitrum actually has a very interesting setup at the moment. A very, very, very interesting setup. Now, Morin, who hit an amazing Bitcoin trade, swing trade, actually texted me personally yesterday, and he said there are two setups I'm watching right now for high time frame breakouts, Aptos and Arbitrum. And I think right now, Arbitrum looks like one of the most compelling setups in crypto. You have this weekly noodle, which is acting as major resistance into a clear high time frame listing date, and then a recent support flipped into resistance zone. If we did break through this zone, we could squeeze back to those November highs super quickly, which is $1.20. That could potentially be a 3x play just getting up to this level. So Arbitrum is one that if we start to break here and get some velocity, I'm actually going to size up into this trade. So set alerts for that. If you do join the Discord, we're going to be posting this in real time. I'm sure Morin's going to be posting it in his channels, and I'm also going to be taking this trade as well, but I'm putting it on your radar now. So Arbitrum, I'm actually going to rank relatively high in the A category because of its potential for upside. Keep in mind, the criteria of this list, once again, I won't say it again, but is in terms of whether I think it will pump, right? It's not in terms of like pure fundamentals, although obviously fundamentals do contribute to pumpamentals. All right, now let's get into the next coin in the list, and this is going to be Rocket Pool, I believe. Now, Rocket Pool is another liquid staking play like Lido. It's actually slightly less value than Lido, but has a lot less TVL, so it's roughly a 7x away. I actually don't mind it as a play. Its TVL has actually recovered really quickly, almost back to all-time highs. It also has an interesting breakout setup. It's obviously very tied to the Ethereum narrative, so it's a true ETH beta. I don't know if it will pump as much as Arbitrum, but there is probably a 2x in this if ETH continues to run. So I'm going to put Rocket Pool in the B category, maybe just ahead of Lido. I can't actually, I can swap them around. So they're going to be my rankings for now in terms of pumpamentals. I mean, I'm kind of breaking my rule with ENA at S, considering I think Arbitrum probably has more upside from a percentage perspective, but I don't know. I'm going to just have the fundamentals putting ENA or nudging it ahead just due to the fact that it has been such a good coin and has a really high beta correlation to ETH, which I guess is the point of holding an ETH beta at the end of the day. All right, the next one is ETHFI. ETHFI is at an $11 billion TVL at the moment. I think market cap is around 500 million. Not cheap, but not super expensive compared to its competitors. It's at a similar market cap to EIGEN, but it is one of the most successful ETH restaking protocols in crypto. 1.2 bill FDV, but 512 mil market cap. The chart also looks quite interesting. So looking at the December highs, it's roughly 140% away. And here's the interesting setup, by the way, for these ETH betas in general. I think the fundamentals on ETH right now are way stronger, and the DeFi fundamentals right now are way stronger than they were back in November when these coins were making highs. So just logically, I do think it's not outlandish, not only for these coins to do well, but definitely to get to their November, December highs. And many of these ETH betas are still a 3-4x off. So the reason I'm personally concentrating a lot of my trading and some of my portfolio around ETH betas is because I think that it's logical that they actually go back to these levels, considering the fundamentals for ETH right now aren't just stronger than they were back then. They're also way stronger than they were in 2021 when ETH was 4,800. So ETH at 4,200 now is like a much stronger version with all the catalysts that we have and the regulatory tailwinds that we have than what ETH was in 2021 when it was 4,200. So that's why I think the setups for a lot of these ETH betas are fairly good. If I had to rank ETHFI, I actually do like it as a play. I slightly prefer, I'm going to put it in S tier actually after Arbitrum. I think that this could go on a decent run, and it's one of the top restaking protocols, and you have clear invalidation. I think that's also very important for these trades. ENA is a little tricky because it's already run a lot, whereas a trade like this, you have clear inval. Okay, maybe the stopgap's a little big, like 20-30%, but as it starts to break down past this key pivot point on the lower timeframes, you could look at de-risking at least. So I do like coins where you have invalidation, because remember, I want to make it clear, these plays today, these aren't forever holds. Like a lot of these plays I'm going to be taking as trades. So a lot of these are going to be swing trades for 3 to 6 months instead of, holding these for years and years and years. That's kind of how I am approaching the ETH betas. There are a couple which maybe I would hold longer term, but just keep that in mind. Ethereum's basically the only one that I would hold super long term. But I do think we're entering a good market for DeFi, and I do think we are seeing a bit of a DeFi renaissance. At least to me, if Ethereum keeps running, I think that'll be the strongest narrative in the market, at least at first. I'm sure memes and stuff will run again, but I think DeFi will be where liquidity concentrates at first. So we've talked about ETHFI. Now looking at EIGEN just quickly. Very similar valuation. I think it has slightly higher TVL though. It also has an interesting setup. You've also got this breakout setup in play. It's obviously performed quite badly since its airdrop. It's like a 4x away. There has been some dilution since then, because the market cap now is very similar to back then. So actually price going down is just a reflection of dilution on the coin. Yeah, I think it's pretty much on similar terms to ETHFI in terms of pumpamentals, maybe slightly lower, but I'm also going to put it in A category as an ETH beta. We might end up bumping some of these down at the end once we rebalance things a little bit, but that is where I would have it. And then the last ETH beta before we go into the DeFi plays, where I think I've got some of my biggest cooks, is PEPE. It would be remiss of me to do an ETH beta video without talking about the #1 ETH beta meme coin. Now, the memes aren't necessarily tracking as well as the DeFi stuff, but we did genuinely see PEPE waking up in the face of that Ethereum $4,000 breakout. When you look at the meme coin super cycle race, you have Doge well on top, you have SHIB second, and then you have PEPE third. I don't think it would be outlandish for PEPE to do a 3 to 4x this cycle. I really don't, if Ethereum keeps running as the top meme. As things go crazy and the ETH whales, start to gamble, I think PEPE could be a logical one to perform well. I don't think it's going to melt faces, but I have been building a position on dips. That's something I've spoken about in my Discord. And there's also an interesting setup right now with this bull flag. So you have higher lows, you have lower highs, but compression above the key horizontal here. So a breakout of this flag could be a very interesting setup. And as it goes on the lower time frames, back down into this flag, I'm looking at scooping, up more positions and just slowly adding to my PEPE position. So PEPE is a slower burn. This is more of a spot thing to DCA on dips and hold, but I'm also going to put PEPE in a category. I'm definitely going to have to rebalance at the end. All right, let's get into DeFi now. So the ETH betas overall are the coins that are historically more linked to ETH. These DeFi coins may not be technically considered betas, but a lot of them are on the ETH ecosystem and benefit from ETH's growth. So if you're looking at second order effects, these should also do well in this environment. I mean, if not better in many cases, because I think some of these have more compelling narratives. It would be remiss of me to talk about DeFi without mentioning pretty much the king of DeFi alongside Curve and Uniswap, which aren't going to be in today's video, but I wanted to have at least one of the OGs in there, and that is AAVE. So AAVE, obviously one of the leading DeFi coins, has a great chart consolidating above the weekly noodle and high time frame support. I don't know if it has pumpamentals, but it is a really strong coin fundamentally. I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. It's a little bit harsh, but the only reason I'm doing that is because my criteria, as I said before, is based on pumpamentals, and the market cap is very high. But if you're obviously, it depends on your goals. If you just want a 2x play this cycle, and you want something a bit safer, AAVE is obviously going to be a lot safer than some of the other ETH betas in the market. All right, moving on to the next one, and this is MNT. Similar to AAVE, I would say this one is a bit less risky than some of the other plays in today's video because it does have the backing of Bybit and it has a pretty well-developed ecosystem. Obviously, it has its Mantle METH staking as well. So overall, this is a strong ecosystem. I've been buying pullbacks on this. I've shared many in the Discord and on the channel over time. Still holding my position, although I did take some profits into resistance here. I think this will do well, but in terms of trading it, I mean, your best bet is to wait for pullbacks and trade it accordingly. So can't give an exact entry in today's video, but if it did come down a little bit back into this cluster here at the 90-cent region, I think that would be a region for me to add some more. Remember how we actually play these high time frame breakouts. Once you get a breakout, you want to move down onto the lower time frames and look for patterns of consolidation. That is something we are starting to see at the moment. However, there is a very interesting play in the Mantle ecosystem, which I highlighted in my last video and in my Discord, and that is Cook. So although Mantle has run a lot, Cook actually hasn't really run much. It's still only at a 12 million market cap, despite having a ton of TVL, and TVL just continues to grow. So I think on a relative basis, Cook is undervalued, and this is something that I posted in the Discord when it was at 10.3. That call is now up 20% to 12.2, but I haven't taken profits on that position. I still think it's a hold overall. So when it comes to ranking things, I'm going to put MNT in A, and then I'm going to put Cook in A as well. I know I'm like loading up A. It's a problem. We're going to sort things out at the end a little bit there. But I think Cook has more pumpamentals, but Mantle also maintains its presence here in the A category just due to its relative strength. And I like E and A, I also feel loyal to MNT because I've done so well off that trade. So yeah, that's a tough one to rank, but I think that's where I'd put it, and I think it has strong fundamentals. I think it'll do well over this next period. Cook, we just touched on. The next one is Fluid. Fluid is one that I really, really like because it has a very strong fee growth. It has strong revenue growth. You could see it's had some days of pretty crazy fees where it's done like, $500,000 in fees multiple days. It's also one of the tokens in the market that has some of the most smart money accumulation. So wallets tagged on Nansen as smart money have actually been accumulating Fluid. And from a technical perspective, it's been trading really clean. I actually had an amazing trade on this in the Mars High Club where I called it at $3.90. It broke out and it ran to $7.30. So I said in the group, Fluid looks like a decent long, and this has been one of my better trades, but it's still decent from a market cap perspective. But like E&A, this is one where you probably want to wait for some pullbacks. And you might be thinking, oh, but the pullbacks aren't coming. Well, they do come. There's always times where things cool off. I mean, Ethereum's been on a big run. It could go to 4,400 now, but then it could pull back to 4K. ETH betas puke a little bit and give you a chance to enter, There are some setups in today's video which look good much sooner than others, but then, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you a setup looks amazing when it's obviously run up a lot. I'm a big believer in buying fear in the market, just like I've discussed on the last two dips on the channel, which ended up being great opportunities. So with some coins, you have to be a little bit patient. If the setup's not presenting, it's not presenting. But Fluid overall, from, a 3 to 6 month perspective, I still think is a pretty strong play. I'm going to put it in the A tier as well. I can't actually drag it across to the top because I'm using a custom dashboard, but that's where I'd put it. All right, now we're getting into the last 5 here, and I've saved some of the strong cooks until last, I think. The next one is AERO. This one has been extremely strong. Kind of kicking myself I didn't get an entry, but then when I was charting it today, I realized it's actually just in an ascending channel. So these are quite easy to play because whenever you go to the bottom of the channel and make a higher low, you long. Whenever you get to the top, you TP. So that is how I would play it, and then I would also monitor this mid-range zone in conjunction with that. You have range high here, range low here, coming into resistance in the mid-range, might pull back and potentially give you an entry. So you can chart it like an ascending channel, and I'll be trading it accordingly. I'm sure we'll get a pullback because we've gotten one pump, pullback, pump, pullback, pump, pullback, pump, probably get another pullback, and we continue the channel to the upside. And obviously, the real fun for AERO wouldn't happen until you get a breakout of range high. But this is obviously the top Coinbase proxy, one of the top ETH proxies. I'm going to probably put it in, S is quite high, but it has a really strong narrative, so I'm probably going to put it in S. Look, I don't think in terms of market cap to potential upside ratio, it's the highest in this entire list. Like, I think there are coins that could pump more because they're lower market cap, but it's going in S just due to the fundamentals and the narrative being so strong. Probably also why ENA is in that category as well. I actually don't have big exposure. I'm just trading it, but that's okay. PENDLE is one that I still hold a spot position. I really like PENDLE, actually. This has been, a coin for me that's been quite nice to trade and also nice to hold over time because the team has always done a really good job. They're super smart, and just overall as an ecosystem, I like PENDLE. I've used it for DeFi many times, so it's actually giving you quite clean PA. It's just been in an uptrend, making higher highs and higher lows on the 3-day. So any pullback into this trend line, I think you can long, and then you can have your stop below the previous low if you want some sort of invalidation. It's sitting at $5 now. The prior all-time high was $7, but I think it could go into price discovery if ETH keeps on running, and I think people generally like this coin. So for that reason, I would also put PENDLE in A, probably towards the top of A if I could actually swap them around. Going on to the next one here, we've only got 4 left, but I've saved some good ones for the end. The next one is Sky. This was actually MakerDAO. They did a bit of a rebrand, so I wanted to include it in today's video because tokens that get a rebrand typically perform quite well. If you do look at the valuation, it's at 1.8 bill market cap, so it's a little bit heavy right now. And if you look at its overall market cap over time, well, it's not including the old token, but the old token before it migrated was around 1.1 bill, so it's run up to 1.8 bill. I'm not a huge fan of this one. I thought I would comment on it because it, has had a rebrand and it's one of the OGs, but because it's run up a lot and it's a new token, so I don't have much historical price data to chart it off, which can be a good thing in terms of upside though. I'm going to put it in the B category. It's not bad, but I'm going to put it in B for that reason. Going on to the final three here, third last is Syrup. I do like Syrup. I think from a technical perspective, it's just been chopping sideways. So until we see some sort of resolution to either side of the range, hopefully to the upward side of the range, it's kind of in a no trade zone unless you get a pullback into range low, and then you can play that. However, there also is a bit of a breakout trend happening here if you want to draw a pretty extended flag in, just roughly. But I do like Syrup because it's one of the top RWA players in the market. They also had a rebrand. It used to be Maple Finance, very strong team, very strong TVL growth. So yeah, I also think this could potentially go in A or S. It's a pretty hard one. Potentially goes in S, but I'll put it in A for now. A is getting really clogged up. I'm going to need to do a redistribution at the end when we review it and I give you my final takes on the coins. Second last one is CPOOL. CPOOL's interesting because this is RWA on Ethereum as well as Syrup, but they also have their PayFi. So it's coming in at a much less market cap, only 167 versus Syrup's 596. I think the team has shown their propensity to be super strong and super adaptive over time, constantly shipping new stuff. And I think PayFi and stablecoins is a really strong narrative that they are now jumping on. And I think just like RWA, they're going to do well in that arena as well. It's also in an uptrend, but technically still in a range, although it has flipped this noodle. So I think the real fun for CPOOL begins once you start consolidating above this level at 18.5. If you get some price action like this, it can squeeze up to 30 cents super quick in my opinion. So although technically it's at range high right now, so it's a no trade zone unless you either get a pullback or a breakout, I would monitor this. I got my last entry at like the 14 cent level. So keep your eye on CPOOL. I'm going to put it in either S or A. And then the final one before we do our rebalancing is going to be ASF. Now, interestingly, the reason why I like this coin is because ENA is backed by Fidelity and obviously has been one of the big stablecoin runners. ASF is one of the only other stablecoin protocols that's backed by Fidelity, also backed by Frax and another stablecoin issuer, as well as a bunch of other big VCs and investors. But the market cap is quite low. And I think the reason why it's quite low is because they had to redeploy their smart contracts. So they had a little bit of a delayed launch, which I think set their momentum back a little bit. But since the relaunch, they've been garnering TVLs super quick, heading back towards the 8-figure zone in terms of TVL. And I think it's honestly a protocol due to the capital efficiency benefits that staking on ASF gives you. I think we could see 9 figures of TVL in the protocol. And if that's the case, the market cap could also reprice to 9 figures. Now, that's obviously ambitious. It's relying on the TVL growth being strong. But I'm just saying fundamentally, I think if you want high beta exposure to stablecoins, ENA is a bit safer. ASF's a bit riskier. This would be one of my bets. And I actually called this in the Discord at 66 cents. It's now $1.40. So that's been an amazing trade, over a 2x so far. But I still think the market cap is still low. So I would put ASF probably in high S tier, high A tier or S tier in terms of pumpamentals. So now we're going to rebalance things a little bit, and I'll just give a recap on some of the protocols here. I'm probably going to bump down some protocols. I'm probably going to bump down EIGEN. I'm probably going to... ENA and AERO, I think, deserve it from a narrative perspective. I think from a pumpamentals perspective, ASF could actually be up there. I'm going to keep it in A just because it hasn't proven itself as much. But in terms of pumpamentals, obviously, because it's the lowest market cap in the video, it has the highest upside, but it's also the highest risk. CPOOL as well, I think, has very strong pumpamentals. PENDLE, Syrup, I think these are strong plays as well. I don't hold these in my portfolio. I think PEPE should probably be in A as well. Okay, I'm going to bump Sky down just to get a bit more of an even distribution. Fluid needs to stay there. Arbitrum, ETHFI, Syrup, EIGEN. I'm going to bump EIGEN down to B. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty hard for me to move things around now, but this is kind of how I would have it. I mean, a lot of them are in A because I think they're all quality, because I only put quality in this video. Like, it's a portfolio video at the end of the day. So I didn't put anything bad. I mean, there's hundreds of ETH protocols, but I only put things that I thought were quality in this video. Otherwise, yeah, the list would have been a lot bigger and we would have had a lot more C's and D's. In terms of my top picks here, I think some of the best technical setups. Arbitrum has a very good setup. ENA and AERO on dips, I think, are the strongest continuation plays. I've already spoken about ASF and CPOOL. They're a bit higher upside, but higher risk. Fluid is a nice middle ground for your portfolio. PEPE is one that I'm holding, mid to longer term. And I'm not playing these, but I would be happy to take trades on any of them as potential setups arise. And of course, as setups arise, I'm going to be posting the setups first and giving you details on the trades in the Mars High Club. Link in the description below, and you can get access to the money back clause, but I don't think you're going to need it because the alpha there at the moment is absolutely amazing. By the way, I wouldn't hold all of these spot at once. As I mentioned throughout the video, a lot of these for me are trades, but if you wanted to pick a basket of 3 to 4 that you slowly add based on technicals, I think that's an entirely valid approach. Just so you're not holding too many altcoins, right? You don't need 10 ETH betas. You just need 3 or 4 that you're aligned with. So even if you want to go away from this video and, use this list and research them all further, you could come out of that video with your own little portfolio, because you don't want to hold this many coins, but maybe pick 3 or 4 that you like and hold them. That could be something that you could look at doing. Obviously not financial advice. Got to make your own decisions. Hopefully it's clear what my approach is in today's video. I'll see you in the next video tomorrow. Links in the description to all of the resources and Mars High Club. I will catch you in the next one. Have a lovely rest of your day. Peace out.